Okay, so Smoothie King is a juice bar franchise that specializes in premium smoothie blends for specific health ambitions and goals. Smoothie King was founded by Steve K in 1973 in Louisiana after he found blends of fruits, nutrients, and proteins that improved his health. The company remained privately held until it was bought by a South Korean franchisee in 2012. For our project, we created a cost benefit analysis to see if creating a Smoothie King franchise would be worth the time, money, and effort. For the purpose of the analysis, we made the payback cutoff 12 years.
For our initial investment, we got all the calculations based off the Smoothie King initial investment requirements off of the disclosure document from 2022 to 2023. The initial investment consists of the initial franchise fee. For traditional units is $30,000. The 3 months rental and deposit is required by Smoothie King, and we average it out to $17,501. Normally, the landlords could increase the security deposit, so most of it would be consistent of that. But the technology systems are a non-refundable requirement consisting of the POS system, the phone, the computer equipment installation, and the data setup, as well as the music system. That was $10,658. The grand opening marketing program is also a requirement set by Smoothie King. It had a minimum cost of $15,000. You would just have to send in a single report of all the expenditures throughout that time. The travel and training expenses were set at $4,350. That's assuming that 2 people come to orientation and the training program, which lasts up to 20 days. Additional trainings would be $1,500 per training. And then the insurance, which is set in the leasing agreement, came out to $5,500. Other people expenses consisting of the impact fees, other installation charges, or licensing permits came out to $22,050. Start supplies and inventory, which were the ingredients, the cleaning supplies, etc., came out to $14,500. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment, millwork, and graphics averaged out to $115,000, and the architectural and engineering professional services is just a service for the design of the unit. That was $47,000. The development fee, design fee came out to $15,000. Leasehold improvements averaged out to $587,000. And the legal, accounting, and organizational costs was for the monthly reporting requirement set by Smoothie King. That was $2,250. Miscellaneous costs, $3,000. Drive-through consisting of the windows, the exterior menu boards, the POS system for that, and the headsets were $29,375. And then an additional funds set aside for 3 months calculated to $20,000, which was also a requirement from Smoothie King. So our initial investment totaled $938,684.
Then we have our ongoing costs and benefits, and the variable we decided to change between the cases are the actual capacity, which is a percentage of full capacity, and this number we got from the average net sales by the top 25 Smoothie King franchises. So for the base case, we're gonna grow that from 65 to 85% throughout 15 years. And then for the best case, we're gonna go from 80 to 100, and from the worst case, we're gonna go from 50 to 70%. The inflation, we picked 2.3 based on a forecast we found going to 2030. And the marketing and royalty fees for Smoothie King franchises are 10% of sales. The cost of goods sold is 27%. The average full-time equivalent salary is $23,400. And the number of full-time equivalents will be 5, and we will grow that to 6.5 throughout the 15 years. The payroll inflation will start at 6, but we will grow it back to more historical levels and reach it to 2.2%. The manager's salary is $40,000. The insurance per year is $505,000, and as Isaiah mentioned, this is the first year is included in the initial investment. So the first year operating costs will be a little lower than the next 14 years. The occupancy cost is also a percentage of sales, and this is 10 for most Smoothie King franchises. For the weighted average cost of capital, we went with 5%, and this is the discount rate we'll use to evaluate the project. And as Elizabeth mentioned, we'll use 12 years as the payback cutoff. So here's our base case, and you see how we grow from 65 to 85%. And this is the variable that we change between the cases. We also grow the pay inflation, as I told you, from 6 to 2%. Also for the manager pay inflation, and we'll grow the number of full-time equivalents from 5 to 6.5. But this will be the same for all cases.
So for our base case, you see that within the first year, our net revenue came out to $324,920, labor costs $157,000, operating costs $51,575, which created a net cash flow within the first year of $116,346. Throughout the years, you can see that the base case generates an NPV of $380,000, which we accept, and then internal rate return 5% greater than our WACC. At 10%, we also accepted that. And then since it's under our cutoff period of 12 at 10.47 years, we also accepted that.
So for our best case, you can see our percent capacity growing from 80% to 100% over the 15 years. And this change in capacity affects our sales forecast, our cost of goods sold forecast, and our royalties in advertising. All of the other FTE pay inflation, number of FTEs stay the same for this case. Our net revenue begins at year one at almost 400,000. Our labor cost starts at year one at 157,000, and our operating expenses starts at 63,000 and ranges from 63,000 to 115,000. Our net present value is a little over $1 million, which we accept. Our internal rate of return is 20%, which is 15% greater than our WACC of 5%, which we accept. Our discounted payback is 6.15 years, which we also accept since it is less than our 12-year cutoff period. And for our worst case, our percent capacity range goes from 50% to 70%. And this also affects our sales forecast, our cost of goods sold, and our royalties and advertising. For our net revenue, year one begins at almost 250,000. Labor cost remains the same at 157,000, and our operating expenses starts at almost 40,000 and goes up to a little over 80,000 at year 15. Our net present value is actually a negative number, negative 394,000, which we reject. Our internal rate of return is a negative 2%, which we also reject. And the discounted payback on here, it says 15 years since our analysis only reaches 15 years, but in actuality, it would be 24.95 years, which we would still reject since it is greater than our 12-year cutoff period.
So for our break-even case, we calculated that the percent of capacity to get the net present value at 0 would be the 66.86%. So we use that throughout all the years. And at the bottom, you can see net present value 0. Our internal rate of return is the same as what's on the assumptions page of the weighted average cost of capital. We reject both of those. And then our discount payback is 15, which we reject because it's higher than our payback period of 12. And here it just summarizes on our summary table, condenses everything. So the worst case was rejected for all three categories of net present value, internal rate of return, and discounted payback. Our best case and base case were all accepted. And then to the very right, you can see the capacity rates we used. And then the rate at the very bottom was the one that got us the net present value to 0.
Intangibles are a type of asset that is not physical in nature. So most companies will have similar intangibles like goodwill, trade names, hours of operation, or more. There are also intangibles that are specific to a type of company, like recipes, franchise rights, franchise fees. The intangibles that we have listed here are specific for our company, Smoothie King, which is a restaurant franchise, with intangibles specific to it like health trends, product waste, location, etc. After finding all of this data and creating our cost-benefit analysis, our group has come to the conclusion that it is worth the time, money, and effort to create a Smoothie King franchise, with all cases but the worst case staying within the discounted payback of 12 years. This franchise is especially good in Texas, where we found that they are far more common and popular than anywhere else.
This was an Excel sheet for all the sources we used throughout the presentation.
All right, y'all done? Is that it?
Yes, do y'all have any questions?
Okay, explain the leasehold improvements to me. I'm not a real estate person. So does Smoothie King own the property? Does Smoothie King lease the property?
They lease the property.
The franchise does, or the franchisee? So Smoothie King,
It'll be the franchisee depending on the location.
so does Smoothie King help them find property?
No, you would have to get it approved through Smoothie King. So like you find the property, they approve it.
I find the property and then I've got to spend money for the real estate developer to improve it, including putting is it required that they have a drive-through? Is that all smoothies have a drive-through?
No, it's not required, but just chose that one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so the leasehold's really the biggest part of it. It's real
Yeah, that's the
estate.
biggest difference between what unit you want to franchise.
So Smoothie King's really making money off the royalties. In fact, I think your royalties are probably bigger than your initial franchise fee, aren't they? To see your royalties are what?
Including the marketing is 10%.
So 10% and your revenues. So yeah, the royalties are much larger. So they're really not making money off the initial fee. So they just want to get these things going and then they make money off the royalties. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so my biggest question, and I've had this issue with some other teams, so I need to explain it better in class. Since you're the first one, I'll give you a little bit of a break. By intangibles, I don't mean intangible assets. An intangible asset is an accounting term. By intangible, I mean costs and benefits. So I mean those things that are a benefit of being a franchisee. Those things are a cost being a franchisee that you don't have in your numbers. So you can probably off the top of your head talk through this. So I look at your numbers and say, well, I want to be a franchisee, but tell me the pros and cons of doing this that's not in your numbers.
So, I mean, it's really time consuming, first of all. Like you would have to, you can probably have a job on the side. This would be your job to take care of the store. So that's definitely a downside to it. Like you would have to be able to pay your own salary out of your numbers.
Do you know how time consuming it might be? Do you have a sense? Is this, I imagine some of these franchisees own 3 or 4 stores, not just one. And they spend their time just running from one to the other. I don't know, how many do you think one person could handle if they did this full time? Are you there?
That was a question. I thought it was a statement. I'm sorry. What was the question? I thought you were saying you didn't think that one person was going to be able to run a smoothie king by themselves.
Well, no, I mean, one person is the owner who has all the workers, but they're going to be running between franchises. So you're saying they really can't have a second job, but could they have 4 franchises in San Antonio, maybe 30 miles apart? Would that be possible, or would 3 be possible, or would 2? You're saying I'm going to make what, about 100,000 a year, which is not a great salary, but for all the work. But if I had 3 stores, that's a pretty decent salary. But could one person handle 3 stores as the owner? I mean, do you have a sense of how many hours a week a franchisee spends? I really have no clue. I imagine it's a lot more than they expect when they get started.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for the first one they open, I would say they would have to spend a lot of time. But I feel like if they open a second one, they already have all that experience and know how to handle all the administrative things. So I feel like the more you open, the less time you have to spend extra per franchise you open or per store you open.
And you have a manager, so I'm really curious. I don't know if we have any management majors on your team. 40 is not very much, so imagine if you are a management major, you're hoping to make a lot more than that. How good are these managers? Are these trustworthy, high quality people, or are these people that, you know, I've managed 40,000 salary people before, and they tend to call in sick. And is this someone you can really trust, or is this someone you're going to have to manage along with the other employees?
Personally, from the Smoothie Kings I've been to, all the managers, well, obviously from a customer perspective, I would think that they're nice because they want me to buy something. But as far as I know, I do have a couple of friends who worked for Smoothie King, and they said that they like their managers, that they could rely on them. And since, you know, only 2 to maybe 4 people are working at once, everything's close-knit. So you kind of have to know each other a little bit to know how well you can work with each other.
Are these managers college educated, or is these Smoothie King employees that have been moving up? And
well, this is from personal experience, not from what I looked up, but they would start out like college educated. And
really, okay, so 40,000 is not a great
one.
I mean, it's okay for a starting salary, but boy, you wouldn't want to. Maybe that's how. I don't know if a management major from UTSA would start just to get experience. It would be really good experience, though, I would think, because you're in the fire. All right, I've thought about starting a franchise, so see if you can talk me in or out of it. My number one concern is entry-level employee turnover. I just think that's going to be a headache, and I'm going to hate it. I'm going to be losing employees every 3 months. The ones I do have are not going to show up. Is that a good reason to stay out of a franchise like this? Or do you think the employees are trustworthy and will stick around for more than 9 months?
I personally don't, because most of the workers are college students, or like maybe even high school students. So obviously they're not going to be able to commit to, even honestly, I would say 6 months. But I don't think it should be a reason why you shouldn't invest in Smoothie King, though, because Smoothie King is one of the largest smoothie brands. And as far as their statements go, they've been growing at least 100 units each year. And they have a 13% compound annual growth rate over the last 10 years. And I feel that even though they are in the food and beverage industry, their initial investment's a lot lower than what you would pay for like a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's. And even though they don't necessarily compare because they don't sell food, they still are in the same industry for drinks at least. So I feel like that's a good advantage that Smoothie King has.
Does Smoothie King protect the franchisors by not, you know, Subway's the big complaint on Subways. They put too many Subways all in the same place. And so Subways are cannibalizing each other. Does Smoothie King have a policy not to load up too many Smoothie Kings in one area?
I know on their website, they have like lists of cities where you're allowed to open a store. So I'm pretty sure they have some policies on that. So people just can't open a store where there's already 5 stores or whatever. Of course, depending on the city's size.
All right, one last question, just your opinion. I haven't been in a Smoothie King, but I've made fruit smoothies. My guess is that training a Smoothie King employee is a lot easier than training, say, a Dairy Queen or McDonald's, but I don't know. Is it an easier product to make?
I think that like from going to Smoothie Kings, I've seen that they have like guides on how to like make each smoothie. And I think it's like laid out pretty simple on like how much ingredients to put in each smoothie. And they also have,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, they also have like really good technology. Like I know their blenders look really high tech and it like measures it perfectly for them.
Is it like, do you know if it's like it's a Smoothie King trademark equipment, or is standard equipment that?
No, I think it's
else?
standard equipment.
Yeah, to me, that's a big deal. And y'all from Intangible, you can tell me if I'm overreacting, but I've walked into a Dairy Queen. I don't know how they train their employees. There's just far too many things for them to do. If I were to do a franchise, I'd want one where training is a few days and they're pretty valuable versus having to memorize all these prices and all that. I guess the registers are far more valuable in helping the employees.
Yeah.
Y'all have an opinion on that?
I've noticed that like when I order at Smoothie King, they print out like 2 receipts. So well, one of them is a receipt, one of them is like a little note where like all the ingredients are. So if I order a certain smoothie, they're gonna print out a little note and then they can like just look at that note and see how many scoops of each thing they need to put in it. So they don't even need to memorize all the smoothies. It's just on a little note for every order.
So when they plug in your order, that comes out for the worker?
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is key for, I just think employee hassles is going to be the biggest thing that would stop me from doing this. Not that I'm going to do it because I'm getting too old, but it's tempting, isn't it? Would y'all open a franchise if your uncle or aunt say, hey, you get into a school, you're a management major, start a franchise, anyone you want to start? What would you say to that? I'll get you started. I'll give you the $939,000. If you'll start a franchise, what would you say to them?
I mean, if I'm not paying for it, I'd do it. Yeah.
You think that'd be a high quality life?
High quality. Like how high? Because I feel like it would just take a minute to get there.
Yeah. Obviously, it's gonna take a few years before you actually see the benefits.
Well, you could get the experience to start other franchises once you have that experience, but you'd be walking away from a career in accounting or finance, whatever your career is, unless you think after 3 or 4 years, you can hand it over to one of your managers, the one you trust the most, and you can go get a job and a career somewhere else. So, yeah, I mean, so your final recommendation was you thought this made sense, right? Did I hear that right? So, so you're recommending it. So I assume that you would do this if you had the opportunity. All right, interesting. Yeah, it's definitely in the right field. That's part of the intangibles as well. I get the sense this is in the right place when it comes to American health. It's a little high calorie because of all the sugar, but it's still probably healthier than what you're going to get at most other fast foods. This isn't Krispy Kreme. Did y'all start with Krispy Kreme?
Yeah.
So y'all went to the other extreme. So there's nothing Krispy Kreme that's healthy. So that may be an intangible benefit if as long as they really have a product that truly is healthy. All right, other students, y'all have questions? Give them some challenges here.
I don't have a question, but y'all did great. Y'all sounded so confident. So good job, guys.
I was nervous, but thank you.
Yeah, y'all are first ones out of the chute. So yeah, you set the standard. All right, well, send me your spreadsheet. And for those that are evaluating them, you have a few days, just fill in the evaluation and just email it to me. or no, actually I put it on Blackboard. You can submit it on Blackboard. So just submit it on Blackboard. So, all right, good job. Good start. So I'll see y'all on Tuesday. So, and I will put a recording of this out there.